So I'm still on the search for a deck that can make the current format fun for me, and I realized I haven't actually made a Haven video this expansion yet, so I figured might as well pick up a Haven deck. So today we're gonna be playing Evo Haven, a bit late I know since it's been like sort of around since like the start of the expansion, but you know, better late than never I guess. So today we'll be playing some Evo Haven, so let's look at the list we're playing for today first. So this is the list we're playing for today. It is not original, it comes from Sakakibara, who is a Japanese YouTuber and Haven main / one trick, whatever you want to call it. I will link his video in the description. So this is the list that he recently uploaded, well not that recently but somewhat recently uploaded. And I just stole it because I'm too lazy to make my own list, I guess. So I guess the main points of this list is Tree of Lyria. The benefit is of course being able to draw Olivia and Verdilla and Castelle in case you don't manage to draw them early, because this deck really needs Olivia, so that's what the Lyria is for. The downside of Lyria is that it pollutes your 2-cost pool for Verdilla's Fanfare. So this is especially noticeable against Cesar's board. If you play Verdilla into Cesar and you pull Lyria, she can't actually, like, they won't actually full clear the Cesar board. Meanwhile, if you play Verdilla and pull Lilium, you will full clear it. So there are some quirks because of having two different 2-cost follows. So just keep that in mind if you're playing this deck. And I guess the other point of this deck is 2 of Timepiece of Perfection. This just helps you against decks that go wide a lot of the time. It helps against Crystal, it helps against Sword, it helps against mid-range aggressive Abyss decks and stuff like that. So I guess that's why it's here. This is the list we'll be playing for today. Let's look at some games. So our first match for today is against Portal, and we are going second. I think aggressive Evo Portal, stuff like that, is more popular than Egg right now, although there is some Egg, so there is that. For Mulligan, I like to keep Academy Hijinks, the Holy Lion statue, or whatever that card is called, the 3-cost Emerald that summons stuff. Verdilla and Castelle, and then if I'm playing against a more aggressive matchup, then I like to keep Timepiece and Lilium as well. In this case though, oh, and also Zoe. I don't know if keeping Zoe is that correct, but I like to keep Zoe as well, so yeah, there's that. So obviously you really need Verdilla and Castelle because it's the core of this deck, so that's why I keep it. It does sometimes end up with you having multiple of these in hand that you can't do anything with though, so there's that to keep in mind. Don't place UD here, we don't really have anything to do, so we just keep passing turn. You might be tempted to coin that off you to clear the UD, but it's better to save it for Zoe on turn 4, so that is what we're doing. Opponent is going to go wide and aggressive here. They play Imari here, which makes me think they have another Imari in hand, so we have to keep that in mind. And we just draw Winged Lion Statue, sorry, not Holy Lion Statue, that's what it's called. We just drop it here just to make sure we can threaten them on board later on. Unfortunately though, my opponent does spend Sincerity to clear it, which actually is probably a good thing for me. Because with the statue isn't that important, although it's obviously quite strong, but I mean if it forces them to spend Sincerity, maybe it's not that bad. We use Zoe to clear here. I don't end up evolving the Zoe. To explain why, specifically if you're going second, your Evo point economy can be quite annoying, because if you, for example, if you want to coin Verdilla on turn 6 and then you have to survive turn 7 and 8 and then you can play Olivia on turn 9. So you need that one extra Evo point. So if you can afford to in the early game, you try to save one Evo point when going second to help you tide you over to your Olivia in case you never get there. It's also just safe to have in case your opponent manages to stop you from playing Olivia. You can at least use the Evo point to recover something. There is the second Imari from my opponent here. They will go ahead and play the Shoddy Plaything and then just pass, which is just fine. We just go ahead and use Zoe here. Doesn't really matter how wide they go with Imari this turn, since we will have Zoe to clear it anyway, which is sort of what we were intending, since we had 2 Zoes in hand, right? Go ahead and trade here. This time we can evolve. It helps us make a very strong Verdilla turn. Opponent drops Puppet Theater. It makes it look like it may look like my opponent's hand is quite bad if they drop Puppet Theater here, but if you think about it, this means that they might have a lot of high cast late-game cards like Canosilla, Chaos Legion, Asher and whatever the name of the card is, Dryzen / Scarlet, stuff like that. So even though it looks like my opponent bricked here, it might not be the case. And in the first place, if my opponent played followers here, they just die to Verdilla and Castelle here anyway. So even though my opponent didn't line up any followers here, I don't think it's that bad. In fact, they might even be trying to play around Verdilla's ping by specifically leaving that board empty. So go ahead and draw VJ here. The reason why is because the only answers they have to this board is mainly Imari or what's her name, Camisilla. They've already played Imari, so like 9 times out of 10 they probably have Camisilla in hand here since they passed turn 6. So in order to make Camisilla annoyed, we drop VJ here because this will make it very, very, very hard to full clear this board for my opponent. There's the Camisilla, as we sort of expected. So funny enough, because of the Puppet Theater they played earlier, they actually have an easier time clearing this board than more standard Evo Portal lists would have. So they do manage to get quite a few of my followers cleared because of the 2 puppets that they got from the Puppet Theater, so I guess that worked out for them. We're just gonna go ahead and use Gilnelise to heal up here, so that is fine. And then we drop the Winged Lion statue as well. Currently no Olivia, which is a bit concerning, but we do have an Evo point floating, so we have that going for us. But now we'll just try to heal up and hit them in the face. We also have Delafield, Colette, stuff like that to answer my opponent's board, so even though we don't have Olivia quite yet, it's not the end of the world. My opponent is going to transform my Winged Lion statue. I guess they really hate the amulet for some reason, even though it ends up with them leaving Zoe on board. I don't really know why they hate the amulet that much, but I mean, it works out for me, so I guess I'm not complaining. Go ahead and draw here, try to find Olivia so that we can actually function. Thankfully we do pick up here, we go for the Colette as well, just to make some board presence to make it annoying for them, especially if they want to do something like send a Scarlet to my face. We go for Asher Lydia here, which we will take a bunch of damage from, but it's fine. We have Olivia here. Go and Super Evolve there, and then we can heal. We can get the healing of this Academy Hijinks amulet. So this amulet is so strong. We do that while setting up a reasonably large follower on board here. You can also look for lethal with Xenophon next turn, so that is the idea. My opponent has a Xenophon of their own, and they will use that plus the Brass Bar Keep to clear my board while chipping me down in the face. Setting up a reasonably large board, but unfortunately for my opponent, they are just dead on board, so we can go ahead and use Lilium here. Super Evolve the Lilium to chip down the Brass Bar Keep here, and then we trade to clear both of their followers. The newly discounted VJ can clear Xenophon, and then we can send Xenophon to face a lethal, so that's it for this game. Our next match is against everyone's favorite deck to hate right now, Rune. Obviously Crystal Rune. So against Crystal Rune is one of those matchups where it's worth keeping Timepiece of Perfection and stuff like Lilium. Maybe not Lilium, but Timepiece is definitely useful in this matchup, so you do definitely keep that. And Academy Hijinks is just as draw. You don't really want to keep Lyria, I don't think. You can keep Lyria because she forces them to trade 2 pawns into it, but ideally you want to save Lyria to find Verdilla and Castelle anyway, so even if you keep Lyria, you don't really play until turn 8, so like, I don't really know that it's worth keeping Lyria generally. But Timepiece is obviously very strong. In fact, this is like one of the matches where Timepiece is great. Sofina's pretty solid going first against aggressive decks as well. It helps you clear board earlier before you take too much damage. There's a Wreath Order for my opponent, so they're going to be drawing their main pieces already, which isn't great for us. We just draw Timepiece here. We could have went Sofina, but I don't really think it's necessary. Setting out the Timepiece when we can will help us in the late game as well. And there is the Shim from my opponent. So at this point we want to start trying to drain a bit of resources from them, and we don't have a better play to make anyway, so we're going to go ahead and evolve Lilium here. And we drop the Colette as well. And this will just make a reasonably sized board that my opponent has to answer. Hopefully we can force them to play a Stormy Blast or something. Then we'll go ahead and draw here. And then have the Elk Crystals, and then they will use Wills United, and they will hit the Lilium here, which is a bit lucky for me, I guess. Or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. On one hand, clearing Lilium there means that they didn't have to spend an Evo point to save 4 damage face. On the other hand, if they hit Colette, then they could have evolved the the pawn and then trade into Colette to clear Colette instead, and I don't know what would be better for them, but I guess it's fine. So this time we go ahead and use Sofina. Unfortunately, we are missing most of our key pieces right now, so go ahead and play Sofina and then set our Lilium here. Lilium will help us draw, and then we evolve the Lilium here. The main idea is to make it annoying for them to play a Shim, hopefully. We saw that they struggled to clear our board last turn already, so they shouldn't have too many useful board clear resources. So the idea is to evolve Lilium here so that even with Shim, the Lilium stays alive unless there's something else to pair with the Shim, which they might not have. In this case, they just coin Rune Portal. I'm not really sure whether it's because they have nothing better to play or they just thought that this was a fine place to play the Rune Portal. Unfortunately, still no Verdilla and Castelle, so we're just gonna go ahead and set up some card draw and a Wingline statue as well to pair with our Olivia on turn 9. So out comes the Shim here. Super Evolve as well, that is fine. At this point, you might be tempted to go Illyria here just to draw cards and then try to find Verdilla and Castelle that way. The reason why I don't do... Well, you can see I ended up popping the Amulet here and I do end up drawing them. The reason why I don't want to pop Lyria and Lyria here is because then I won't have board space, which will require me to spend one of these amulets, and these are very valuable amulets. So Timepiece of Perfection looks very underwhelming at this stage in the game, but you have to realize that against a Rune, what they do is they line up a lot of one-cost followers, which makes it very hard to land Olivia on board, because Olivia can only clear 2, and leaving the pawns alive is like no laughing matter because they hit really hard after a Shim's Crest, and especially with Wheels United as well. So for that reason, you generally do want to save Timepiece of Perfection for when you drop Olivia, so you can play Olivia, use Timepiece to clear the pawns, and use Olivia to clear Calgadentla and other big followers. And a similar reason for Delafield being very valuable. Between these two, I would say Delafield is probably easier to spend, but having to spend it on destroying having to lose a draw source on destroying an enemy follower just to make board space is a bit iffy as well. So yeah, that's why we pop for draw first in case we top deck Verdilla and Castelle, which will make our life easier, and we do end up doing that. We can go ahead and Super Evolve the Verdilla and Castelle. We can get clear this board as well. If I didn't draw Verdilla Castelle, then I probably would have popped Delafield, chose to destroy follower, and then enhance Lyria and hopefully draw Verdilla and Castelle that way. My opponent will go ahead and clear here, and then they drop Calgadentla as well, which is not fine, but it's not a big deal, I guess. And then Super Evolve here, I guess, to maximize the strength of their board. Take a bit of damage here, but we're not super threatened right now, I don't think. Go ahead and Super Evolve Holy Falcon here. Great. Go ahead and use Timepiece here. Make sure to clear their board, and then we can drop Olivia and Sylvia here just to recover our Evo points. Drop Vijay as well. I dropped both Vijays. The reason why I do this is because right now we have them very close to lethal. Next turn we can play Lyria, Enhance, Super Evo, Colette, Sandalphon for a total of maximum of 12 damage. So we really don't want them to heal. So by making our board as strong as possible here, we make it as hard for them to play Depths of the El Crystal as possible while still full clearing this board, since it costs a full 6 play points. So that is the idea for dropping the 2 Vijays. Plus, even if they manage to heal and we keep a follower, then we can finish them off with the Vijays that's managed to survive on board anyway. So that is the idea here. Gonna go for Calgadentla here. Stormy Blast as well to clear Olivia. It will evolve Calgadentla as well. And trade and then play Wreathed Order. Depths of the El Crystal as well. We take a bunch of damage here and then probably drop the second Calgadentla as well. The idea from them is probably to chip me down and then finish me off with the second Depths in hand they have right now. They go full trade here and they leave the Vijay on board. We survive on 3. On average, their Calgadentla will have rolled like a 5 damage, so we're relatively safe there. So it's not exactly a low roll from them that we survive off. Anyway, we go ahead and trade here. As we planned earlier, we go ahead and Super Evolve Lyria here. Go ahead and trade. Use Colette as well. and then drop Sandalphon for lethal. So that's it for this game. So our last match here is against Sword and we are going first. Sword has strong early game, so you do want to keep stuff like Lilium and Timepiece if you open them. But in this case I didn't, so I just kept Wingline, Statue and Verdilla and just tossed the rest to look for early game cards as well as card draw and stuff like Zoe. Zoe is quite strong in this matchup, so definitely trying to find that. And we drop Lilium here preemptively just to make sure we can answer a follower if they play one. Thankfully my opponent doesn't play one. This probably means that they're playing Evo late game version of Sword, so we have to watch out for that. We do end up coining Zeta Bay here, so that's fine I guess. We go ahead and draw a card here. Got another Wing Statue. Go ahead and drop Wing Statue and then we go ahead and advance the Wing Statue here. Leaving Zeta Bay on board is quite risky because we take a lot of damage. So we're probably wanting to go for Troue next turn and we need these to answer board, so we just go ahead and advance those. Plus it forces them to have to answer my board at that point, so that is the idea. Plus I don't like my odds of being able to answer their board with this hand, especially without Zoe, so having these amulets ready to go next turn if I need them is just, I think, generally ideal. Go ahead and pop it here. Pop the other one as well just to full clear this board. You don't want to take too much damage here, so we do trade even though it's a bit of a waste of my Storm followers, but we go ahead and do that. And then evolve Troue to just heal more. You can see all the chip damage we've taken in the early game basically healed it all back up, so that's pretty nice for us. We're going to evolve Nailclaw here. And trade to keep it alive. Right now we want to find better cards, so since we have some free time here, we draw Academy Hijinks and then use Timepiece to clear this. Timepiece doesn't scale very well on the late game against Sword in particular because a late game there's not that many 1 health followers. So keep that in mind. We're gonna go for Metronomic Medic here to I guess draw, and then they open the what is that card called? Yeah, 1 cost spell. They open Orchestrate the Silence. I guess that's fine. We don't quite go for the reason why we don't go for Verdilla and Castelle here and we instead set up Zoe is because if we go Verdilla and Castelle here, we lose to Cesar on the crackback since we don't have a good way to clear it. I mean, we do have ways to clear it, like with stuff like Zoe and VJ, but I think this way is just a bit more cleaner. So yeah, just seeing Verdilla and Castelle. There's no rush to just farm it out Verdilla and Castelle like immediately anyway, so we go ahead and hold Verdilla and Castelle here, and then now that it plays Cesar, we can play out Verdilla and Castelle. Saving the VJ, this allows us to more or less save VJ, which makes our Olivia turn much safer. Since Olivia can be hard to land against Sword with stuff like Cesar running around, right? We go ahead and Super Evolve Verdilla here, and then we can use it to full clear. I make a mistake trading here. I should have traded the Zoe first, so I lose 1 damage off of that. I don't think it ended up mattering in this match, but yeah, I definitely lose 1 point of damage, so just keep that in mind when you're playing. I'm gonna go for Mars here, and they will Super Evolve the Mars. For a moment, I thought they were just gonna go straight to my face with this Mars, but they do end up trading. I'm not really sure why people like to evolve Mars and then use it to trade like that, since it has Bane anyway, but yeah, I'm not really sure why people do that, but I guess it's something they do. Anyway, we'll just go ahead and drop Verdilla and Castelle here. We have a second VJ as well, which is quite nice. We'll go ahead and Super Evolve Lyria as well. This will allow us to deal some damage to their face, and then we have Olivia next turn anyway, so we are fine setting the Evo point. And then we drop a VJ because we are going to mill off the last words plus invoking Sandalphon, so make hand space, plus it makes sense, it gives them another boy that they have to answer, so it's just generally good for me all around, I guess. So they will be able to full clear this board just barely and heal up a little bit as well. Unfortunately, my Sandalphon only just invoked, so we are quite far from lethal. But at this point, we just focus on advancing Sandalphon, so we go ahead and play Olivia here while we can. Get the Super Evolve going here. Ping her for a bit of damage while recovering our Super Evo point back. And we just hold on to this VJ until we really need it. So now we'll go for Zeta Bay here, as well as Grand Cheetah to draw into their deck more. And then we'll take some damage here. I'm gonna play Verdilla and Castelle here. We can use that to clear. And then we drop De La Field, I think. Do I drop De La Field here? At this point, we can activate Xenophon next turn, so dropping De La Field here just makes it easier to send Xenophon to their face. The important thing to play around against Sword in the late game is that Xenophon can be hard to send face sometimes because of stuff like Xenophon. In this case, so for that reason, Gilnelise is actually very valuable in this matchup. You win off Gilnelise quite often because Gilnelise can go face without having to rely on them having an empty board like Xenophon does, so just keep that in mind when you're playing this matchup in particular. In this case, although my opponent didn't have Xenophon, even if they did, they were just dead to Gilnelise, but I mean, they're still dead to Gilnelise, so I guess it doesn't end up mattering too much. They do clear here, and they use Flash that quick later as well to chip me down, but they are dead to Gilnelise. We'll even play Xenophon here since we don't need it, although Xenophon is super lethal. But you know, it's whatever, I guess. Go ahead and Super Evolve Gilnelise here so we can clear their followers. I'll get the Super Evolve ping and then we can just finish them off with Sweetness of Veracity. So that's it for this game. So those are the games I have for you today. Hopefully it gave you some idea of how this deck works. From my vibe of playing this deck, I feel like there wasn't quite enough early game. A lot of times I just lose to like my opponent being too aggressive that I can't answer them in the early game. So if you are having trouble with that, you might consider slotting in more early game cards like Timepiece or the Trident. Trident's pretty solid, I think. Yeah, that's it for today. Not too bad. I mean, pretty solid deck. I managed to climb to Epic quite quickly playing this deck, and yeah. So if you like playing Haven and if you have these cards, you can give it a try, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for today. See you next time. Bye bye.